Telling a story in this world from the other world is very difficult. So here I am to try again today. How are you? Um, so I guess I decided to scrap part three because I've talked about all the real legions, and what I really want to talk about is the creator and how he showed himself to me, and how, you know, I've said this before. I heard in the afterlife, and I have remembrances of the Creator telling me that there will come a time when, I don't know if it'll be probably after he exposes himself, that there will be imitations. And what I mean is, there'll be people saying that they knew what I'm telling you after he shows himself, and they will be imitating what I'm saying and even possibly trying to tell my life story for me. And that concerns me because the one we knew as Prince Rogers Nelson, his life story is being told for him, as with all the other singers whose lives are told after they die. So um, I don't want that to happen to me. I've been through too much in my life to let somebody say I'm something I'm not, or that I did something against the creator or anything like that. So I've decided I have to uncover myself and tell you guys and show you guys the things that happened to me, because um, I mentioned in part one of The Truth how I've been seeking the creator for about 30 years now, and all things Prince Rogers Nelson for 40. And so I would never come here and lie against the creator. And there's even some things that I hesitate to say because the way that his truth and my own truth, my sole purpose, have been exposed to me is so strange. Strange but true. Um, I couldn't make it up if I tried. You guys, I couldn't make it up if I tried. So I used to do a bunch of live videos, but I can't show you proof when I do the live videos. So what I'm going to try to do now is tell some story and then cut to, some of the things that started happening in 2020, because I was living this normal life that I knew of, in 2019, and then COVID lockdown of 2020. I started having my life after death memories being told to me. The creator was speaking to me in a bunch of different ways, backwards, upside down writing. We were writing about the pi equals 314 equation, electricity, electrocution, Haleakala volcano, um, Tesla 369, all kinds of gematria, mathematics that I've never done before, you guys. So when I say that I was compelled to do these things, it wasn't within my power. And I was going through the things that I wrote last night, and I wrote a really powerful, even I'm taken aback at the words that I read that came out of my hand sometimes. So I'm trying to find a way to share all that stuff with you guys, as well as the stuff that nobody will believe. The stuff that, when it's coming out of your mouth, you sound like a crazy person to the world, but that's okay, because for me, this world is a world of illusions. All the people that I thought I knew have showed themselves to not be my friends anymore, my family even. There's so much hardcore, deep, dark stuff going on in the world, so much separation. I can't focus on what people think, and I need to focus on what I know. And that is what the creator has shared with me to share with you guys, and not to keep with myself. So whether I was writing backwards and upside down, taking screenshots of interesting information about Korea, about World War III, about Jorge Mario Bergoglio, about Islam, Hashem, the creator, was feeding me information. And I went into trances, and there's no other way to explain it. It's just, when he's working with you, there's nothing else but he and I. And I don't know. I'm going to try to show you guys how that takes place, how it took place, and how it started in the spring of 2020 by showing you some examples. And then I thought I would go ahead and share with you some of those more interesting tidbits about how I need to make you understand that the reason that I can come here and say the one that we know as Prince Rogers Nelson is the creator, and I'm his other half, his female half on earth, as in Adam and Eve when they were cut apart in their soul. Like, I'm half of the soul and he's the other half, and when I died there was some soul coalescing going on. He exposed who he was and who I was, and these things we're not supposed to know until the afterlife. So my unique situation is that I came back from the clinical death and didn't remember anything or wasn't given any information until 10 years later. So again, in the spring of 2020, I was writing some letters, and it said he came in with such a whisper, and I don't want to just hear you whisper, Lord, I want to hear you shout. So then he started to shout, and there was telecommunications, and there was pictures being sent, and that is all part of the story too. And I'm going to share some proof of those with you and some texts, and it might be a long video, it might be a part 1 and a part 2, depends on how it goes. So what I want to share with you first, I guess, is I'm going to show you something. You might get bored, you might like it. I have to share my life story. So what I'm just going to show you real quick is my Google photo history. I pay for a ton of extra Google storage, and I want to show you how in the spring of 2020, what started being shown to me just by screenshots alone, and then we'll segue into some other things. So I really do hope you stick around, because man, I'm going to try to put my circus hat on today. You can see here, January 11th, 2020, I was feeling inspired after New Year's Eve to start playing the keyboard, so that is what I did. Here, January 14th, I was working the gold. The only song I was learning to play, was Purple Rain. Listen, I started with the metronome and everything. I was learning it by ear, never played music in my life. I was reading the Beautiful Ones book at the time, and I saw this quote, try to create. I want to tell people to create. Just start by creating your day, then create your life. That's part of the reason I started playing the keyboard too, is prompted to create my life. Now here, you have your normal Prince photos and such, but then I started to see things like this. Now, what is that? That is something that was shown on the Super Bowl commercial. It's a freeze frame. And these things started to make me think about child sacrifice and things that were evil, like this. I was feeling way more confident than I ever had in my life, and obviously still researching all things princely. If you search handwriting in my Google accounts, what you're going to come to see is thousands of pieces of handwriting. I was compelled to pull out my Tree of Life drawings, studying all things biblical. I was doing this strange gematria on the whiteboards, the song Breakdown that Prince sings, as well as the word social distancing. You can hear, as you can see here, these strange writings where I was trying to figure out the mathematics within the words social distancing. I know it sounds crazy, but I figure if you see enough evidence. Sorry about that. Here's me looking. I had been awake probably maybe 4 days this day, and all of this writing and all of this math was coming to me. Here's some more examples. I would break down the English alphabet, the Latin alphabet, and the corresponding letters and numbers. Depending on, what was happening that day or what I was being led to do, there's lots of things going on, as you can see. This is an example of mirror writing. If you take a word and write it upside down and or backwards, it spells a variety of different things. Just going to let that sit right there. As I said, the pi 314 equation kept coming to me over and over again. The fact that the Creator was speaking to me in ways that led me to think about the Da Vinci Code and the breakdown, because I told you guys that have listened before, ever since I heard the initial song, The Breakdown, which came out in 2013, which is 3121, I knew that there was going to be a breakdown. I write and write. some of the stuff that I found is still hard for me to discuss because it requires me talking about who I believe I am. I'm really nobody. I'm just somebody who's being used by the Creator, a messenger, but I have to find the courage to even say that's who I am. That's how real this is, because I'm not trying to be up on a pulpit lying. Anyway, this is my name, Pride. P, R is backwards, I, D is upside down, and then E. The E is upside down. It's Pride. Now, something that I found interesting when all of these things were happening to me is the 19. It goes along with the COVID-19 that we find ourselves in. I kept seeing 19 in my name, so it's ID 19 both ways in my name, which is truly interesting. All the 19s started to strike me as interesting because my birthday, not ashamed to say, is 12/19/1970. Now, if you look at the birth date and you add the 12 and the 7, that's 119, and then the two other 19s equal 319. You get what I'm saying? This was a breakdown of something that I had done. So again, here, this way. 12 plus 7 is 19, and then my birthday is 12/19/1970. So to me, it totaled 1999 or 319. Again, 12 plus 7 equals 19. Bring down the other 19s. What it started to compel me to think of was the ID 19 we find ourselves in. There's a lot that goes into it, and the writings got very strange. We were going to party like it's 1999, still are. So, January, February, March, April, spring of 2020, I became somebody else. Like I said, I was going into these trances, and I was listening to Prince music and drawing maps and writing upside down. I've shown that before, so I don't want to dwell on it, but the writing would present itself backwards and upside down, like it was teaching me how to read that way. I didn't know what was going on, you guys, but I wasn't scared on the inside because I have been seeking and talking with the Creator for 30 years, and I felt that it was his guiding force, and I didn't feel like anything scary could happen to me in my life because I've never been scared like that. So, I double checked and I got my Bible out, and in 2013 I had initially started researching some Tree of Life information and the Hebrew, Judaism and stuff like that, because I wanted to get to the bottom of, I wanted to get to the origin of the Creator. And so I didn't stop at Christianity when it was taught to me. I started looking in the other direction. So point being, I had old documents that I pulled out. I pulled out my Bible. I've shown you that. I got to reading. I never slept. I would put the headphones on. I would draw these maps. And the thing is, you guys, what's interesting, I think I know the reason for now, but at the time I didn't know. The maps that I was drawing in these trances were coming out, and they were all about Maui, about what we call Hawaii. And then I was drawing maps and hearing about the Haleakala volcano. And I'm going to show you a couple of those, because with the fires and everything that happened in Lahaina, I think it's very important, because countless times during my writings, I wrote the name Vatican, I wrote Lahaina. I've said this in my videos before. In 2020 and 2021, I didn't know what was going on, but it was the way the Creator was leading me towards the information, because he doesn't talk to me like I'm talking to you in that voice. It's more of a guiding and a prompting and a being compelled to do certain things. So I listen. But anyway, it's important to know that the maps and the things that I was drawing in the spring of 2020 had to do with Maui. And the thing is, I didn't think much of it because I had just been on vacation for 2 weeks in August of 2019. And I thought I was just kind of reliving my, good memories or something while all this weird stuff was happening. But now that the fires and different things have been exposed to me, I know that it's because the Creator is everything. He is the land. It's one of his name is Havaya Baruch Hu, and that means, the blessed, the Baruch who is blessed, but he's everything, and that's just one of his names. And Havaya is a way to say Hawaii. And so what I mean to say is, with the Hebrew to English translations and the changing in spelling, casting spells with words, what he had told me is like, because he's the creator and the sustainer, and he's the land over there. He's like everything, and it has a lot to do with Maui. So not exactly sure how else to say it other than that. When I was out there, I had feelings of, my granddaughter even mentioned she had feelings of like a sea dragon. And later in my renderings and in my understandings, I had seen and remember like serpentine winged dragony things, and so that'll come to make sense someday, I'm sure, but those were in my drawings as well. So anyway, let me show you a couple of those drawings. It's really important to know how many times I wrote Lahaina and Fuego and all these other things, so check that out. Here's me when I was in Lahaina with my granddaughter. I've mentioned before what I thought was strange was all the Asian influence. They call it Polynesian, but it looked Asian to me. Some shots of Lahaina, what has now burned down. That's the back side. We were taking the boat out to the Atlantis submarine. There's a shot of what's on the other side as we were making our way to the submarine. And then I also got this at one of the art galleries out there on Front Street, was this picture of Prince and Hendrix, and yeah, I got that because I took it from across the street. Pretty cool, right? Anyway, you can see here in 2020, June 15th, 2020, I was drawing maps. This map right here, I had drawn in kind of a stupor and then put the figure 8 on it. I know now that's probably for 808, but I didn't know what it meant at the time. I was writing things like, I am AI Hawaii, I am WW3, Will I am Maui, Lahaina Marina, and then you can see it says Vatican hiding, Lahaina Marina. I have no idea why I wrote that, but that's why I say it, because I wrote it. You can also see I would wrote I am with you because that's the creator and he would be talking to me at that time. I think part of the reason I wrote that is because Lahaina looked kind of like Cain to me, Cain, the Vatican. So that's why Lahaina and the Vatican, you can see right here below too, Lahaina is written backwards and upside down. Another something that I made because, check it out, CIA, if you look at it as, you know how C and K make the same noise, and an I and an L look the same? It can be clan either way, C or K, like Calvin Klein, clan or clan. You feel me? Here's another one that I was writing. It says Lahaina, hiding in plain sight, AI, luau's, Lucifer, reptile, fuego, because of the fire. You can see luau, Lucifer, fire, ritual. You know, I don't know exactly why I was writing these things, but it's because there is a plan. It's because what we know is Hawaii has more secrets to hold. Here's one that includes the words backwards, Haleakala, helter skelter, the 316-319 equation is the same as the 314 equals pi, and you can see 9303, December, souls, that Haleakala was hell for a king. You guys, I'm just presenting it to you the way I wrote it. Part of what I would do is, I don't know, I was compelled to write down, you know, lyrics of Prince music, and then, you know, for instance, here I wrote down the word Batman, and it turned itself into, these are the things that I saw. I say it turned itself into, but what I mean is what I heard in my head and what came out of my hand is you could see Batman turns into Hawaii or Hawaii Islands, and then the words electrocute, Vatican AI plan, alien equals a lie in right down here. Think about the word alien. A lie in. It's a lie. Just like Aleister Crowley is a Lister crowd. It's it's just a matter of spelling, and these are the things that would be shown to me. Here, artificial age was alien invasion, exit US, Antichrist, alien cover-up. The 69 would turn into 666 because 69 is an AE or a 666, because dig this. When you look at a 69, because that's really what that is, it's actually a 666 because it loops around 3 times. Okay, I can't show you but with my finger, but it's also equivalent to the egg, which is why there's an egg at Paisley Park. And all these writings, end DNA, New Year, the Beast, electrocute, New Year's Eve, DNA, third world, here at the bottom, New World Order, Third World War. Here I wrote Haleakala La Bluebeam Project, America Upside Down, MK Ultra, stolen, election, rape, anger, rupture. It has to do with the volcano. Here, I was writing about vampires and CERN and the Khan energy electrocution, because it's very important that you guys understand something, which I'll get to soon, about the electrocution. Here, I wrote Bluebeam Project USA, The Bird, and then down here, 808, Alien. So everything about Maui and the Bluebeam Project and Haleakala kept telling me that there was going to be some kind of false plan out there. Here I was writing murder on the marina, red rum, murder, some notes about how Constantine, the Bible, the New Testament is false, and he calls himself the reincarnation of Christ the King, which is the Pope and the whole MK Ultra brainwashing, but murder on the marina. Here you can see I was writing Hawaii, Pai Mei, Kill Bill, will.i.am. I was writing about the elevator in Haleakala and the 69, the Beast again. These writings may not make sense individually, but when you take into consideration what happened in Maui with the fires, the fact that I was writing this stuff in 2020, I thought, well, I was hearing that there was going to be a blue beam project with them trying to make an antichrist. That's why you see the word Christ, not because I believe in Christ. I was even watching the governor, I think he was, Michael Victorino, and I wrote Victor I know because it's the sacrifice of Victor. So those are the kind of things I heard. This one's interesting because it says Lahaina Beach Road upside down, and then you can see it says Lahaina Beast King right there, and then it says Rapture Light COVID show at Harbor Lights condo, because they had closed down Harbor Lights condo out there during, I think it was 2021, and said that there was a COVID outbreak. So these are the notes that I took. And it was telling me that there was going to be a Blue Beam Project hologram show portraying an Antichrist. So whether I was writing crazy maps about Maui, meditating with the headphones, contemplating gematria with Latin letters, and interchanging numbers, I didn't know what the H was going on, you guys, but I went with it because I know myself. And I wasn't scared. I was actually very excited. It was everything, like, for a person like me who has always sought the truth, the essence of truth, and it was really exciting to get all the information, even if I didn't exactly know where it was coming from. But because all the years of listening to Prince, the music had always sounded like God's voice to me. And I told my friends it was like God was singing to me, or he was singing to God, one or the other. And so when I would hear the voice, it would compel me, or I would feel the feeling. I knew that it was coming from the Creator, and it really made it okay to proceed without too much fear. There was a couple times that I fell into some, well, early on I fell into a trance where I wrote what would be like almost like a goodbye letter, like a suicide letter. And in that letter, I was just writing that the feeling that I was having, or the feeling that I remembered from my afterlife experience, was like being asleep in the water, and that everything was going to be okay. And I could just hear and feel this guidance from Hashem that was telling me to proceed with what I was doing. So whether it was those writings, reading the Bible, reading the Beautiful Ones book, playing the Purple Rain music, looking up things about war and electrocution and vampires that I had never heard before. I was like, oh, what is going on? It was, like I said, really surprising to get those messages about Lahaina and Maui, but not so much, because when I was out there, I felt like there was something that wasn't quite right, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I wrote it off at the time as the fact that it's a naval base, and the way that Hawaii was taken over by America, turned into a naval base, part of World War II. None of it all seemed too beautiful to be real. And when I stood on Haleakala volcano, I even said, I'm on a dormant volcano, I think. And there was just things that struck me as really odd as well. I showed you before, you may have missed it. I got a video out there in Maui. I was walking the famous boardwalk at the Wailea Beach resort where I was staying for 2 weeks. And the walkway that goes from the resort to Wailea Beach is it's private, and so they light it all up with tiki torches and all these different bushes and beautiful flowers and waterfalls and everything. But when I was out there, I caught on camera what I believe is like a white alien essence being crossing the sidewalk, and I'm going to show that to you in a second, because it's not so far-fetched to believe that naval base could practice all kinds of holographics, using the water and the land out there, and all the notes that I wrote about Lahaina being a Vatican hiding space. It's not so far off, because I have these memories about the Creator telling me, as his name is Havaya Baruchu, and the vowels have been changed, that it was like Maui or something was like the Garden of Eden, or I'm not sure, but I do know this. Go research it for yourself if you can find anything on it. There was a baseball field across the street from, I don't know, a church, or there was a baseball field in Lahaina, and it was known to be a super duper spiritual vortex, much like all the rest of Maui and Hawaii and different parts of the the world. So the fact that my good friend Robert, concierge, former concierge at Wailea Beach Resorts, told me that there was about the king. I don't know if it was King Kamehameha or whatever their names are. Forgive me for saying it wrong. But there was a brother and sister that were in love that got buried in that baseball field. But then that baseball field out there in Lahaina was used for, I don't know what. I can't say. I couldn't find a lot of research on it, and the internet may have been washed by now. But he said something about how they were buried together or something out there. Forgive me if I misquote, but there was a lot of strange things going on, so it didn't surprise me that it would be a naval base, which is controlled by the government, which took over Maui and runs electrical fences where there shouldn't be any, claiming that they're trying to keep out roaming land animals when the species are definitely not over populated in Maui or Hawaii anywhere, because they're very much controlled. So it may sound like a trip. I don't care anymore. I want to show you guys the video of the white being. I got to feed a squirrel. I'll be right back. This is a little bit hard to see. I'm going to show it to you in regular motion and then slow motion. And during the slow motion, there's an annoying noise. So it's just because I put it on super slow-mo. So this is the walkway that I was showing you from Wailea. And when you play the video, you're going to see a white figure kind of cross the sidewalk and get up, go through the bush, and walk out the other side. This is the slow motion part. I'm going to turn it down for a minute so you don't have to hear the slow motion noise. See where I'm pointing the arrow to? Watch, that white thing is not there. Watch. See it? See it? See it? Slow-mo. See, it's coming up, out the top, right, and back to the side. I'm going to show you again. 1 minute. I'm just explaining how it goes here. Watch. Just a second. Comes briefly across the sidewalk. Gets, in a minute, it's coming. Hold on, it's still, here it comes. See, right up through the bush. Right up through the bush. And right out the other side. See? It's not just my imagination. I'm trying to show you guys as much proof as I can. Proof that the Creator works in mysterious ways, and the world has been misled as to who He is, as to how bountiful His love is, His compassion, His mercy, His intent for our lives. We're everything to Him, and He should be everything to us. And for that to happen, you have to realize who you are. So I figure if I share with the world who I am and the fact, well, what He shared with me, and that it's all factual, that will help you when you learn how to have a relationship with Him too, just to see how honest and raw I'm willing to be, whether people think I'm crazy or not. It's what the Creator told me and showed me. I've also experienced answered prayers. I've seen, as I was going through this stuff, the Creator always presented Himself to me in in the moon and the stars and the constellations, and I would always meditate and watch them, and I would always meditate and look at the constellation Orion. And when I was in the afterlife, and He explained to me that the constellation Orion had something to do with the Sea of Souls, where we all come from, and how He actually imparts to us a piece of Himself. His gift to the world wasn't a man named Jesus who came and didn't redeem. His gift to each and every one of us is Chelek Eloka Mima'al, which is a portion of heaven, a portion of His soul to our soul, which is what makes us us. It's why you cry at weddings and births and, whatever makes you cry happy. And He is like what people refer to as the sixth sense. He is your piece of heaven. My phone is falling inside you, and it's your job to connect with Him. And again, I figure if I keep sharing with you how He started talking to me and how I can hear, and moreover, again, how it became a texting and telecommunications thing going on as well. I sent pictures to someone who made me to believe that they were the Creator, the one the world knows as Prince Rogers Nelson. So I'll probably get to that pretty shortly, but let me show you a few more things about what I was shown in the spring of 2020, because it leads me back to parts 1 and 2 on the duping of religion. The nations, the 70 nations, as there are 70 languages, the 70 nations, and these people, the Pope, Constantine, Islam, Buddhism, all these other, they've been telling a lie. They've been promoting their own self-righteousness, their own, man, I don't like to talk bad on people, but I know what I heard from the Creator, and that was that He had been in hiding, and He hadn't given anybody the power to present His secrets and His mystery. And so when you see people banging pulpits and passing baskets for all your money while they give you nothing in return but tickling your earlobes, maybe, I'm not sure, to keep you waiting around on a man named Jesus, because it makes you controllable. Just think, if the world, each and every one of us, knew that the Creator gave us as a gift, the biggest gift He could give us is a portion of Himself to commune with Him, do you think the churches would be real full? No, they wouldn't, because you would be talking to the Creator yourself, just like I do. And ultimately, that's why I need to come here and tell my story, so that people understand that they understand that nobody's going to tell my story for me. So